Hi, everyone. Welcome to Influencing on Camera. I'm here with my good friend Gary Barnes, who has done kind of a little bit of everything. Gary, thank you so much for being here.
Yes, my pleasure, Jade. It's just so good to be able to come and share.
Thank you so much. Again, you're just so exciting to have here. And let's break down what it is that you are and do. You know, you do the business coaching, you're a former pastor, you were a peace officer at one point. Tell everybody who's never heard of you what it is that you do.
I tell people I'm going to figure out what I do and who I am when I grow up. At this point, I don't know that will ever happen. But my early background is psychology and theology.
Of course it
And
is.
obviously, the next step was into real estate. And
Right.
then from real estate, I created one of the very first financial planning firms in the country. Along the way, I'm a certified police officer. I sold the financial planning practice after about 30 years, having built it to the top 3% in production in the US as a solo producer. And people kept asking me how I did it. And so organically, the business coaching really came in, and I'm a unique kind of a hybrid business coach because I include life.
Mhm.
In the middle of that, in 1988, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, was told I would be dead or in a wheelchair within 10 years. 6 months later, I was told I had the worst case of sleep apnea in the state of Colorado. And, you always want to be number one in something. I fly P-51 airplanes. I jump off buildings. Uh, it just, to me, it's not to just merely exist, but to truly embrace life and to say yes.
But you actually, I've been to quite a few of your talks and your events, and there's one that kind of stuck with me. I really wanted to talk about, especially in the current times we're in right now, which are very volatile, is the concept of launch and adjust. Can you share that with us?
I will. It's not necessarily a new concept, but I think it's one that we really misunderstand because what we have a tendency to do is look at whatever the adversity or obstacle that we have in front of us, and we get stuck there instead of taking off and actually using that as a pivot point, if you will. I really don't like that word. I played
Right.
football in school. We didn't do a lot of pivoting. We
Yeah,
just
no,
went
it's a
straight ahead.
basketball thing.
Yeah, that's a basketball thing. Yeah, I have a basketball story for another time that it's not pretty. Um, but the launch and adjust is really connected to also what I call the power of yes.
Oh, mhm.
I hate writing, but I have written 9 books. TEDx called me to do TEDx. The power of looking at what is ahead of us. What are we doing with the opportunities that we can uncover? You were mentioning we're in a stressful time right now,
Yeah, we are.
and just because we have some limitations at the last 3-day boot camp that you're my videographer
I
and
am.
will be. We went to a virtual and an in-person hybrid.
Hmm.
Because of that, it went international. We had individuals from South Africa, from India, and the UK. And if we hadn't had that stimulus to be able to do that launch and adjust, we I wouldn't have had the motivation to be able to do the change. So the example that I use with this is going back to airplanes because I mentioned I love airplanes and from really being my dad crashed 2 airplanes and so
I
I
didn't
don't
know that.
yeah, my dad was a kind of a barnstormer. But
Oh,
anyway, but the question that I ask is, when is an airplane truly on course? And people will give me different answers, but the answer truly is when it's on the ground. It does not have any ability to really become and to embrace what it was created for on the ground, but that's the only time that it is 100% on course. So when it's in the air, it faces all of the adversity. It could be storms, it could be high winds, it could be other aircraft. And that airplane in, real time is off course 99.9% of the time.
which is
But,
crazy to think about that. That's just amazing.
but let me ask you, when you're driving a car, I would say everyone that is watching right now, you know how to drive a car. You're doing the same thing in the car.
And doing
You're
the
doing
micro
those
adjustment.
little micro adjustments to
Mm-hmm.
keep the car going in the direction that you're wanting to go. Now, we know when we're making a turn or we are avoiding something big, those are very noticeable.
Mm-hmm.
But we even pay attention anymore of those micro movements.
Right.
So when we have these situations in life, when I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, I looked at it and I'm going, oh golly, I lost all feelings from the neck down. I lost the ability to walk, to write.
That's
And my
amazing.
kids were right, 7 and 9. I was right in the middle of my major career. I could have allowed it to stop me. But instead, I looked at what I still had. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough.
Yeah, and let's talk about some adjustments that happened with you writing that book, How a Beaver Saved Your Life. You actually had to adjust that title. Literally, you launched a book and you had to adjust the title because it didn't work out. Let's talk about that.
And I didn't know that it didn't work out. That's the interesting thing. And, the original title was Into the Night, The Road from Adversity to Triumph. And it did pretty well. It actually went into Europe. I was getting speaking engagements because of the book. And a woman had heard me speak and had invested in the book. And within a week or so, there was a big box that showed up that was really light. And inside of that box was a 3.5 foot beaver. And I mean, it was just really a beaver. And so I told my coach at the time about it. And he got so excited because he said, when somebody starts sending you physical imagery about your message, and that's
Hmm.
really key here, a physical manifestation, a connection to the message, pay attention to it. And he said, we're going to change the title of the book.
Right.
And it became How a Beaver Saved My Life. And what it did, it really opened up avenues and doors that I didn't even know were even possible for me. Because within about 6 months, I had an invitation to do 4 shows on PBS.
Hmm.
TEDx, like I mentioned, called me to do TEDx because they read the book and they said, I never applied. TEDx wasn't even on my radar to do.
Which is so cool that they just asked you. Like people have to apply for this and they have to wait in line and they were just like, "Hey, Gary, come on board." And I've never heard that story before I met you. I thought
Well,
you had to apply to get onto TEDx.
well, you normally do.
Hmm.
I mean, it's really unusual for that to happen. But there was a launch and adjust even in the TEDx story
Right.
because when they called me, they said, would you, be one of our 2 celebrities? And I'm wondering who they're talking about. And I said, great, what's the date? And they gave me the date, and it happened to be the Saturday right in the middle of my 3-day event. And I
Oh
just
my
was crushed. I said, well, I'm so sorry. I have a responsibility and obligation
God.
for the people that fly into that event.
Right. You can't just
And
reschedule it.
and I said, could I do it the next time? In my mind, the next time was like next month or next
Hmm.
couple of months. He says, of course, it'll be in a year. And I
Oh,
remember the power of yes. I'm not, it's like the old carousels that, you're riding the horse and there was the brass ring. Now I'm really dating myself. I never was on one of those carousels, but I did read about it. I saw them in movies. And so I looked at how I could do it. I had that launch and adjust mentality. And so I just rearranged 1 or 2 of the speakers at the event. One of my clients drove me to the Budweiser Event Center, which is
oh.
a huge arena. Yeah, I mean,
Hmm.
they
I've
said you're
been to
not
that
going to
one.
every show.
Hmm.
And I did the talk. I got back in the car. We came back to the event, and my attendees didn't even know I had left.
This story is usually what, 45 minutes, and you had to condense it to 10?
Yes.
And you had to do this kind of on the fly, right?
Yeah, it was one of those situations where this TEDx producer, it was his first event, was really a novice, didn't know how to do what he wanted us to do.
Sure.
And actually, we had 14 minutes. It was going to be 19, then he took it to 17,
Hmm.
and then it went down to 14. But even there, we had to launch and adjust because they had no countdown clock. On a 200-foot stage, it's timed, and we have no idea how much time had elapsed. They gave me a clicker that did not work. They did not know how to. You would have loved this, Jade. They gave me the receiver to my mic, and I just handed it to me, and they go, what do you want me to do with it? They go, oh, just stick it in your coat pocket. I go, no,
Oh
let
my
me show you
God.
how you do it. So it
I
was,
couldn't even with that situation.
it was just like, okay, my main goal, because I still have very little feelings in my feet, is to go from the stairs of the stage to that red dot.
Right, right, right.
That was a launch and adjust because,
Mhm.
I move around a
You
lot.
do.
I know whoever is filming me, if they give me a point, my spot on the stage, and that's the only time I'm going to know it's there. Your
Hmm.
job is to follow me.
Yes.
And so, through the whole experience, there was moments that I could have allowed the what looked like the obstacle to take, precedent instead of looking for the opportunity. Because one of my Garyisms is opportunities are seldom convenient.
Oh, that's so true. That's so true. And I think that that's kind of what we're running into now with how our world and our businesses are adjusting for that is it's not convenient for a lot of us to have to, we're not going to use the word pivot, but to adjust those micro adjustments. It's not convenient to do that now. With businesses, you want time to plan and make sure everything is ready to go. And that's not really the case for some people. We have to just kind of do it on the fly. And so that's why I thought it was so important to hear your story, as successful as you are, to have to transform it into like, yeah, this is a practical thing. And even Gary wasn't set up and ready to go, and he still made it work. That's the whole lemons and lemonade thing. And I think the launch and adjust is a bit more appropriate because you really have to get creative and you really have to get after it to make it work.
Well,
So,
it's looking around for where are the possible solutions, because a lot of times we don't know what those solutions are because we haven't had to even embrace something different.
right.
And as human beings, one of the things we really dislike is change.
Yes.
We like the predictability. We like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to get a predictable result out of that investment of time, money, energy.
Mhm.
And one of the biggest challenges, I think, for us, particularly as business owners, is asking for help, looking
Yes.
for other avenues that we didn't even know existed. I call it the V8 moment. That drink. You could have had a orange or a tomato juice, or you could have a V8.
V8. Yep.
And so we have been taught that there is some level of in just doing it yourself. That lone wolf.
Hmm.
And over the years, I've truly come to believe that true success comes from collaboration. And
Right.
it doesn't mean that you're always paying for something or whatever, but the collaboration of information, of experience. And through that, you're going to have opportunities to see possibilities that you only thought were available to others.
Hmm. And that's that also the outside view that you provide when you do either your group coaching or at the boot camp itself is you're looking at the whole picture that a lot of us can only see what's in front of us. It's the forest amongst the trees thing.
And a lot of it is we get very that that old adage of deer in the headlight,
Hmm.
the fear. When we face an unknown, when that happens, it creates where we can get stuck even more. We don't even see those opportunities, those possibilities. And fear is one of those interesting things that it can stop us or motivate us. And looking at it as fear is normal. Fear is
Yeah.
natural. I was just watching an interview with Meryl Streep,
Mm.
and I know that I saw an interview years ago with Elvis Presley and some of these very high prominent people that have been in the entertainment industry forever. And they were asked, do you ever get nervous? And they all have said, yes.
Hmm.
I have given over 1,000 talks. I've been on TV, radio, doing programs like this with you, which again, thank you.
No, of course. Thank you for being here.
There's always a nervousness. And to me, it's uh, an arena of a confirmation that I'm ready. It's not about me.
Right.
It's about being able to give.
Right.
And so it's when we have that nervousness, that fear that comes up, what the one of the benefits is that we're more in tune with our surroundings. We
Hmm.
can see things that maybe we would have ignored if we had not had that stimulus of a little more anxiety or fear. And so it's not always bad.
No, it isn't. And, I just talked to Chris Natsky about that last month. So if you'd like to, I guess, hear more about how you can transform that and what that really means, listen to last month's podcast for sure. So I like to ask this question when it comes to the launch and adjust, how can people apply that to video? Because this is a great topic. It can absolutely be done, but I want your take on it. How can this be applied?
Well, the very first thing is get rid of being perfect. There is not, and I know you, Jade. You as close as possible. You are amazing. You're not just a videographer. I've always considered you a director and a producer.
Thank you.
And you have that eye. But for most of us out here, with the ability to do Facebook Lives, LinkedIn Lives, just regular video, we have this tendency to think that we have to have credentials, we have to have permission, we have to look good, we have to be younger, thinner, fatter, whatever this society, and what people really want is genuine. They want real. Because what I've always said is I am just the kid next door, and I want people to look at me and say, if Gary can do it, I can do it.
Right.
Really what we're doing is giving other people permission to show up, to engage, and then to receive the benefit of their product or service, the benefit that they have for whatever their world consists of. And so when we get ourselves out of the way, video is here to stay.
Yeah, it is.
Is one of those things that one of the biggest benefits of video is people can see who you are and to see if they relate to you and you are safe. They look into your eyes. That's one of the things that, and I know you teach around this.
I do.
When we are doing a video, like right now, everything I want to do is to look at your picture.
Right.
Looking directly.
It's so hard because you want to stare at the person you're talking to.
Well, yeah, and there's almost, you can see it out of the corner of your eye, and people will move, and yet I want to convey a message. I want to connect with whoever is here that will receive a benefit for what you and I are sharing today. And that's something else with video is it goes back to also speaking, is that my prayer that I pray before engaging in anything like this is let me touch one. It's not touching 1,000, 1,000,000, or getting on Oprah, or I just had someone say, my big goal is to get on Oprah. And I'm going, okay, it's Oprah and then TEDx. And how do you do that? I go, Facebook Live, putting yourself out there, being seen, and getting rid of the agenda of getting on or TEDx.
Right.
There's things you can do with all these things, but video is going to last forever. This is the thing. You put it in the internet, it's like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Right.
5 minutes later, it's all over the internet and you cannot get it down. So that's why what you do, Jade, is so critically important for any business, no matter what type of business it is. It's going to be a place that you can showcase who you are in very short snippets. You don't have to do a long video. People don't have time.
Right.
But these little tips of wisdom, things that people can use, and video is the fastest thing that you can put out there, and you'll receive a benefit from.
Right. And that's what's important, I think, is, when I put together the online classes, is that people can do it from the comfort of their own homes. They can take as many takes as they need. They have a place that they can do it from over and over again, because especially things how are now, video can be cost prohibitive, or, we may not be able to leave our houses in order to do our job. And businesses still have to let people know that they're open. They still have to be able to talk about what it is that they do, or if they launched and adjusted, what those adjustments look like and how they can stay in contact with their customers. So that was actually a really great explanation. Thank you so much. I want to talk to you about the struggles you've had when it comes to videos and your business. What's gotten in your way?
Self-image, having the idea that what do I have to offer? I tell people, and I get this a lot from my clients as well, is that what they see as ordinary, other people see as extraordinary. And that you have a unique message. It can be around the same topic, but it comes through you, which makes it unique.
Mm-hmm.
How did you use it? And that uh, it's not self-incrimination, but that self-doubt.
Mm-hmm.
For a lot of people, the confidence just isn't there.
Yeah.
And so this is a place where it's trusting that if you've been given a message, you have an obligation and a responsibility to share it. What I say is, it's not about me. It's not about you, Jade.
Right.
It's about those that we serve. And when we truly have that service mentality, we will get that block unblocked. But let me say this, it never truly goes away because those are old patterns that will always be there.
Sure.
And there's two words that in a lot of different situations, but this is one of them that I suggest using, and the words are not now.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we feel that resistance, who do you think you are? You're not good enough. You're not a celebrity. You're not credentialed. You're not whatever you're not. That's that little voice that's wanting to protect you, and just say, not now. There's a
Right.
time to look at it, but not at this moment, and do it anyway. This is that the launch just keeps coming back
Mm-hmm.
because it's don't worry about the results. We cannot control results. We can only control our activity, how people see us. And so, it's never going to be perfect.
It's so hard to hear. It's so hard to hear.
I know. Well, you make it as perfect as possible.
Yeah.
But for those of us that are in the industry, don't let that stop you. Connect with Jade. Allow her to make you look, what I tell her, make me look better than I actually am. And she does. But
thank you.
don't wait for somebody else to give you a validation that you have permission to take the stage. Because what video does, it allows you to create a stage in your home, in your car. And you don't have to wait to be on a stage like TEDx or some of the other stages that I've been on and had the privilege to be on. The stages today, particularly since there is a separation of people can't get here, people can't really socialize as easily as it has been in the past, but we can do it here. We can do it in the technology that wasn't even available, maybe 15, 20 years ago, Jade?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
How long have iPhones been out?
I don't know. I'm not that good about cell phones, but
it's less than 15, 20 years, somewhere in that area.
Yeah, because I had my first cell phone when I was in high school, and all I could do was make phone calls and text, and that was in 2003. So the whole video capability and stuff like that, it's insane.
Yeah, we had the old flip phone.
Yes. And the razors and all those. Yes.
And we thought we were so high-techy tech.
We did. We could make calls from anywhere. And, it's funny you're talking about where your stage can be anywhere, because I have seen some great videos of people that have literally just done it from a parking lot in their car, like you were saying, or they're doing it from their homes, their office, and even some places that I wouldn't necessarily recommend, like the bathroom. You see a lot of those videos out there. People have gotten really creative with where they've done them from. But you're absolutely right. Now, talking about this, because you just dated both of us, so thank you for that. Had you had video available to you in your very first career, or even let's just say 10, 15 years ago before they even came out, what would you have done differently? I mean, how do you think that would have helped you in your business?
I've been asked that question quite a bit since I am older. And the thing I would say to anyone is to use any and all availability today to have exposure, is to get your face, your name, and people are going to forget your name. With the Beaver book, I have the beaverguy.com.
Yeah.
Tryguy.com. They're going to remember your story. They're going to forget your name. That's where I go back. It's not about me. It's not about Jade. It's about your message. It's about the thing that you have as a benefit. But looking at the ability to not wait because back when I started, you had to have some sort of connection to the TV studios, to if you were going to do radio. And really what we're looking for is that opportunity for more people to see us. It also, what it would change is that in the past, it was a local market.
Right.
Now you've opened us up to a global market.
Literally anywhere in the world where they can see your videos. Right.
I, my last client, business coaching client, just came from South Africa. And so, it's one of those things that literally the world is at our fingertips, primarily of the technology. And one of the best things that we can do is video.
And that's where you're talking about like create something and then adjust it as need be. As you get feedback or as the results are not showing what you want, then you can just kind of curve it. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect.
Yeah, really it's that customization. And I know a lot of people are very timid to get on camera to
Oh
do,
yeah. I'm one
but
of them.
I wasn't going to say that. But Jade's really a magician. She's an artist behind the camera, but now that she's out in front, some really neat things are happening because
Oh,
they
it's
can see
awful.
it.
It's
You
awful, but it's important.
Well, I always use the analogy as well of build it and they will come is a
Hmm.
lie.
Yeah.
Is that you have to be seen. You don't want to be the best kept secret. And it's not about ego, but
Hmm.
it is about celebrity. And celebrity to me is how are you different from, not better than.
You know what I miss about celebrity? The idea of that is back in the, and again, we're going to be dating ourselves again. Back in the day, celebrities used to go like overseas during wars and entertain troops. They used to be approachable. It wasn't like this diva, because that's how I see the difference. There's celebrity and then there's diva celebrity.
Yes.
And you're definitely a celebrity. You are not a diva. You do a lot of outreach things. You do a lot of things to help others and serving, I think you call it serving the community. And that's what I think really feeds back into you and all the success that you've had is because you're willing to extend a hand first.
There's two types of people in Palm Springs, the served and the servers. I was on the server side. And but what I saw was there were certain celebrities that the ego wasn't there because they were there to entertain. They were there
Mm-hmm.
to help a situation like what you were saying with Bob Hope and people that went overseas to
Right.
really serve the troops and to make a difference in their lives in a difficult situation. And but there was also those that were very, very ego driven. It was all about, was I in the newspaper? Was I on TV? Did
Right.
I get the red carpet treatment no matter where I was? And one of the stories I remember my dad saying, because he owned a service station, and in Palm Springs there's a tramway, and people would drive up the tram and not realize in the middle of summer that you turned your air conditioner off. And so Ava Gabor at the top of the tram, her limousine blew up. And so my dad went up in I think it was a 1956 Chevy pickup. And she had so much fun in the pickup. And she was just a real person. And you think of, I mean, a lot of you may not know who Ava Gabor is or was.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Look her up. She was just one of the major movie stars back in
Mm-hmm.
the 60s and 70s, uh, late 50s. But she was one of those that you would have thought would have had a big ego, and she
Mm-hmm.
really didn't. She was just a real person. And so I think that experience back then really contributed to who I am now because, I remember walking into the bank one time and I had, for whatever reason, I just had a t-shirt on and a pair of slack or jeans. And I had been banking with this bank for a long time, but this time they didn't recognize me and wanted to see my signature and check my card. And I called over the president of the bank and I said, I've been here a long time. And he goes, "Oh, Mr. Barnes." I go, "No, they didn't know who I was because of how I looked. How
Mm.
come I don't have to show my ID when I'm dressed to the nines?" And I pulled all of my money out of that bank that day.
Wow.
And so to me, it's how do we treat our fellow human being? It's about that hand up, that next generation, that next person. Because in reality, Jay, you and I have a limitation on how many people that we can touch in this world. And so it's about empowering others to
Mm-hmm.
do that as well if we're going to ever really have meaningful, long lasting change, not only in the US, but around the globe. What
Mm-hmm.
can we do to make a meaningful impact?
And that's, I think, the difference between, what you are as well as, you're a coach, you're a teacher, but you're also an influencer, and you're teaching the rest of us by example, by being, it's that whole like preaching to the choir thing. Like you are the example and you're leading by example on what the rest of us should be doing. And that way the next generation down, as you were saying, gets the benefit of what we learned previously, because there's a lot of information out there that's not being shared. So I have another question on here, and this might, again, date you, it might not, but you know that I like comic books, and every comic book hero has an origin story, that is like with Batman, his parents died and he became a bat, and, he got inspired by the bat to instill fear in others and blah, blah, blah. What is your origin story, Gary? What major event happened to you that transformed you into the superhero of Gary Barnes?
This is going to sound maybe a little dark. My family life growing up was abusive, and it was abusive in every sense of the word. I was the oldest. I took all the brunt of the abuse. And I made a determination. And I don't remember, there was no lightning strike, no, clouds parting and the angels singing and, this mandate from heaven. But there was a process that I knew that I could never allow this process to continue. I had to do a pattern interrupt. I had to do something that changed the course of what I experienced as a child. And when I had that, then it really didn't, I was willing to understand that it wasn't always going to be fair, but it was going to be enough. And that as soon as I did that, what I have found is so many people, and it really hurts me to really realize this, but so many people have similar stories.
Yeah.
Where they weren't nurtured, they didn't have permission. They were told as soon as they walked and talked to shut up and sit down. And we have learned many times the reason that we don't want to be on video is that to be seen was not safe.
No, it isn't.
And so what we're doing is giving people permission to actually come out and to become the person they were destined to be. And so we have society that is not always all sugars and cream. I will date myself because the old TV shows, Donna Reed and Ozzie and Harriet and Father Knows Best, it was all that perfect home life. Mm-hmm. My home life was more resembled Roseanne, including the Afghan over the couch, the yelling, the screaming, the whatever.
Yeah.
And it was just really dysfunctional. And I did not want to leave that as a legacy to my family.
Well, and you are such a great father. I've met your sons. They're they're just like you. They're very giving people, very very knowledge bound, and just really go-getters. And so I think you did a great job with your family life.
What I'm proud of is I watch how they are fathers. And the things that they have done that is so far beyond what I had even the ability or the knowledge or the capability at the time to do. And so turning the tide is really the benefit. And that's something that, is really satisfying to me.
Well, and it's what we were talking about. It's making that next generation better prepared and taking what we have and sharing it to the next. So I think that's, again, a great example, not that we were even intending to talk about that, but a great example as to how you keep that moving forward. So I appreciate that so much. So since you're obviously such a giving person, you have a lot going on. Let's talk a little bit about the group coaching. Usually that's $47 a month to just be involved on these phone calls. Tell us about that.
Well, when I looked at how to connect with people, I started realizing I was going to run out of time working with individuals. And I also realized that there was a lot of people that really wanted to have a community, have the ability to ask questions and have support and have those V8 moments, but not to have to, break the bank and, maybe a week out of the month, eat beans or, skip meals. Yeah. And so I wanted to create something to where people could actually come in, and I call it the Professor's Inn, where we meet twice a month and where anybody can ask me anything. And sometimes it's even the group will chime in and give their input and ideas as well. But it's a very supportive community that I made it so inexpensive. It used to be 47. Actually, it used to be 97, and I've taken it to 47. And then I just recently I went, I just want to be able to help more, and we took it down to $27 a month. The neat thing about it is that there is no long-term commitment. You can stay in the group for as long as you're finding a benefit. So there's the only decision really for people that want to check it out is that $27 risk. It's really a fun thing because the national average, or actually now international average, for people coming on and staying in a program like this is about 90 days. And they're looking for that magic bullet. Our average for someone staying on this program is over 3.5 years.
That's amazing. Those are great stats.
Satisfied for me. Because, the reality is that if people, there are so many choices out there that, it's just one of those things that, if you're not delivering content, if it's always about buy my stuff, people are going to go away. It has to be relevant. It has to be usable.
Please tell us about the boot camp that's coming up.
The boot camp also was something organically that was created because I ran out of time. And so I've been speaking my entire career is something that I enjoy doing. And so the boot camp, or the next one, is number 39 in January.
Oh my gosh.
And so we've been doing them a while. They're 3-day events. The thing that is unique about it is that everything that is taught and shared is proprietary. I created it in building my businesses, and now we share it. So it's going to be subjects like people know about the time management, but I created a time management system. The launch and adjust, the elevate and separate, how to, what I call the 3 magic words. When somebody says, who are you? What do you do? What do you say?
Right.
What we do is back ourselves into a corner and we say what we do as an occupation, and they're not even listening.
Right.
I really believe that building any successful business is 80% psychological and emotional. 20% is tactical, and most people have that reversed. And then at the end of day one, we actually do the board break.
Right.
Chris comes in, he has this process, and it's just an amazing experience. But what I want to do with the boot camp, and again, we keep the investment extremely low, is that if someone comes and I never see them ever again, that they can on Monday morning take what they have learned over the weekend and benefit and increase the results in their businesses. So it's highly content driven. And that to me is what it's all about, is truly making a difference and empowering, but not my power to them, but helping them connect the power that's already within them and giving them permission to engage. And so, the boot camp is just something that I keep wondering, as I get close to doing another one, why in the world am I doing it? And that afterwards, I can't wait to do the next one.
Oh, I remember. And you put so much into it. And there's so many moving parts when it comes to the boot camp. Obviously, I've been to several. It's where I've learned some really great stuff. And every time I go to one, I learn something new. And the thing about it is they're so densely packed that it's like watching a movie that is one of those thinker movies. And when I watch it again, I catch more details. And I was like, oh my gosh, I should have seen that in the first act or whatever it happened to be. And your boot camps are like that. But I feel like I have to watch this movie like over and over again because I keep finding new stuff. And what's really neat about the boot camp for people that are attending it is that they get the half an hour with you when they buy a ticket to do business coaching. And as I recall, because I did one of these, it's not like a 30-minute call of, on Zoom or whatever, of like, let Gary sell you for 30 minutes. It's about how he can help you and start you off wherever you are. If you're a brand new business or if you're struggling like we were, or if you're just ready for that next level, that next step, he's not going to spend the 30 minutes selling you the rest of his programs. He's actually going to give you content and something you can work with. And then you were also saying that you're doing free group coaching all the way up till the January boot camp. Is that correct?
As soon as individuals register, they're included in the group coaching program up until the event.
That's insane. So that's 27 27, 27. So whatever that math is, you math people out there, between November and January, they're getting the group coaching call as well as that's amazing. Why did you decide to do that? Can I pry?
You know what? It really is to give a tangible way for people to implement the concepts. Because it's not just about learning something. You could, I know your videos are so impactful because you not only say what to do, but you say how to do it. And it's the same thing with the boot camp. The more that I can smooth out the concepts or questions for people to actually get the results out of the investment of time, money, and energy that they have, really put into coming to an event. And let me say this too, is that I really believe the most valuable asset any of us have in this life is time.
Right.
And so when somebody invests that time, money, and energy to be at an event or come in and see me, I'm truly there. And people are scared because they do think it's going to be a 30-minute commercial with a hook. And in fact, this week I did 3 of them. And connecting with anything else with me never even came up.
Right.
It never was talked about at all. And some of you might say, well, that's kind of stupid. Aren't you in business? Well, I have an attitude that when it's right, it's organic. And they will ask and be ready for that next level of connection. And it works. I've been doing this for a long time. We play at a high level and be able to give back at a high level.
Yeah, you're not the one-stop shop for coaching. You don't have a mold that you make everybody fit into and then adjust from there. You cater it custom to people. And I've always been a firm believer that if the product is good, then people will keep coming back for the product. You don't necessarily have to sell them hard. If they want something, they will get it from you or from whatever resource might be a better fit. But that's, I think, why you do that 30 minutes for content driven, because obviously you can't fix everybody in 30 minutes, right? But if you give them good information when they're ready to, they have your number.
Well, it's giving them that next step. And it's truly, and you know this about part of my philosophy is we don't sell, we share.
Right.
And in sharing, if it's the right fit, if it's the right timing, if it's the right opportunity, the right connection, the right personality, there's a lot of elements that go into this.
For people that are ready to do this next step, that are interested in learning more even about you or even sign up for the boot camp, where do they go? What can you tell us what the web address is?
Sure. www.breakthroughbusinessmastery.com. And on there is all the information about the boot camp. If you're looking at the group coaching, you can go onto my website under events, and it is right there. Well, the other thing is, if anyone has a question, I always open up my personal email. It's simply Gary@Gary Barnes, BARNES, international spelled out.com. And I just invite, if somebody has a question, shoot me an email. I answer all of my emails personally.
It's true. He does. And his Facebook messages too. And he personally wishes you a happy birthday with actual text. It's not just the button where you click it and wish a person happy birthday. He's very hands-on, which is, I don't know how, I don't even think you sleep. I don't know how you do all this yourself, but again, you do sleep. I'll trust you on that one. So Gary, thank you again for all of your time today, sharing all this great information. We got to so many questions, and I really appreciate the give back on this.
You're welcome.
Well, thank you so much for everyone listening to Influencing on Camera. We'll see you next time.